So guys, welcome to Lunch and Learn. We are recording this because if there's anything you've missed, or if there's anyone who hasn't been able to attend, it'd be nice for them to watch back over it. Now, obviously, because this is a Zoom webinar, people can't see you. You can't hear each other. You can only hear me and Rebecca. So welcome along to Lunch and Learn. Let me give you a brief explainer as to what Lunch and Learn is for anyone that hasn't been before. It's an hour, approximately, long webinar where we talk about a particular topic. This is our chance to give back to local businesses. It's ideal for directors and marketeers, people that want to learn a little bit more. Today's topic is around in and out marketing trends for 2023, but we do all sorts of topics. What's the topic we've got for next month, Bex?
How to run a brand on Instagram.
Yes, cool. So we're going to have some of the team here doing that. Lisa's a whiz at Instagram, so she'll be joining us to that one. So we do a lot of stuff, not just around the in and out marketing trends. We delve into some of the platforms in more depth, look at how you can create better content, run an Instagram feed, better engage with people better. It's not just about socials. We do stuff on SEO and ad campaigns as well. So there's loads of stuff that we do. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Dave. I'm the MD here at 146. So we run a couple of companies here. We've got 146, which is a digital marketing agency. We work with organizations around the country to help them get more out of digital marketing, to help increase their leads, increase conversions, increase brand awareness across socials, their website. We build websites as well by pushing them higher up the Google search. What else do we do? Beck, social ad campaigns, SEO, websites,
Emails.
Email marketing campaigns. That's what we do. We also run, if you're local to Northampton, we run a local media outlet called Northampton Life, which helps to promote everything that's going on around Northampton. It's one of the largest, or probably the largest B2C platform in Northamptonshire. And Lisa, who is behind the scenes here today, she normally joins us on Lunch and Learn, but she's working heavily on Northampton Life today. She runs that. I'm going to pass you over to Rebecca, who will introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Rebecca. I am a digital marketing executive here. Work with Dave and Lisa, Izzy and Tom. I look after clients, and I also do a lot of the 146 marketing as well. So I get to stick my hand in a lot of different pots and do a lot of different things, which is pretty cool.
And Rebecca gets very heavily involved in our own marketing. One of the things she's helped us do today is prep Lunch and Learn, which I'm hoping adds a bit of value. My take on Lunch and Learn is if you guys take away one or two different things that you can implement within your business, that's our job done. If you don't, then that's not, then we failed you. But there will be stuff here that you know, but hopefully there's a few things here that you'll kind of think, yeah, I need to really get on that. I really need to get on that this year. So please feed back to us as well at the end, whether it be through a Google review, a Facebook review, or whatever, or emailing us direct. We'd love to hear your feedback. Just so you're aware, this is a totally free webinar. There is no payment involved. However, we do support Cynthia Spencer, which is a local hospice here in Northamptonshire. You will get an email after the webinar. And if you wanted to, as I said, there is no checking, there's no calling people out. If you wanted to donate a small amount, which would equate to the cost of a ticket fee, whether that be £2, £5, £20, £2,000, don't donate. Well, you could donate £2,000. Then feel free, but you'll get that email afterwards, and you're welcome to donate on our Just Give Them page. So, on to our topic. Doing quite well for time so far. In and out marketing trends of 2023. So today we're going to talk about some trends, things that you should be looking at and potentially integrating within your marketing. Now, what I will say is you don't have to integrate everything. This is a general overview of what we think is going to be a bit hotter. It doesn't mean that other stuff you've done before isn't going to be hot, but we're highlighting key things. There's a few things we've left out as well. So for example, influencer marketing is something that's quite hot at the moment. There's something we've left out because we don't think it's going to be as relevant to our audience, but it's something you might want to look into if you feel like it's relevant to you guys. So we're going to jump onto our first slide. And this is, we're going to talk here about organic posting on Facebook, more specifically Facebook and Instagram, because that's where we feel that reach is being starved more than any other platform. In our opinion, gone are the days of relying on organic posting on Facebook and Instagram. Now, this is very much open to debate, and organizations within the room might have different ideas, different opinions on this. But what we're seeing at the moment is over the last couple of years, Facebook, or Meta, which is now the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, they have gradually starved any kind of organic reach on Facebook and Instagram, because essentially they want you to pay for it. That's essentially what it is. So you will have quite possibly found when you're pushing organic posts out on Facebook and Instagram over the last few years, your reach has dipped, your engagement has dipped, and it kind of gets you to the point of thinking, what's the point? And you're right, it's becoming incredibly challenging to get anywhere, get in front of people on Facebook and Instagram right now. So what can people do about this? Rebecca, what can people do about this?
First thing I would recommend is, if you're in a position like you've got the kind of company where this would work, create a community group, create a group for customers to go in, and they all have something in common because it's something to do with you. So if you're running a service, and you could set up like a help page, if you're running something that means they can all talk about a product, or if you've got if you release certain information or treats or like tidbits of upcoming things in this group, you've got like an exclusive place where people can go and learn about your product and interact with each other. Facebook are really keen for people to make community groups and to for businesses to do that. So it gives you a lot of tools to create that group, and it's then you've got a group of people who are fans of your product or your service all in one place, who are all actually like they're into it at the moment. They are current customers or fans, and it's a really good way to reach people, get information about the demographics of people that like your product, and it's free. You don't need to do anything. You just need to advertise by you just need to get people to join your group, which you can do through social posting or emails and things like that. But basically, one of the ways we'd recommend is, for sure, if you can create a group page on Facebook, try that.
Yeah, I think there's three things that people can do. There's probably more things, but there's three key things that people can do. And one of them, I'm going to flip between two slides here. One of them is creating a Facebook group of sorts. Think outside the box. Don't make it salesy. Add value. That's the key thing. I read an article recently that suggested that there's a lot of companies that are moving their socials more towards customer service and sales. And I think that's almost something, it's almost food for thought, because a lot of people in the past have used platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn as a form of sales, and they're quite direct with that. But flipping it on its head and pushing it more down the customer service route, if you've got a business where your audience is on Facebook or any of these social platforms, flipping on its head and using it as a customer service side of things can work better, because it's less salesy. You're adding more value as well. But the crucial thing here is, I'll go into the other two things in a second, but Rebecca's identified setting up a community group, a Facebook group. Users more than ever want to be or want to feel like they're part of a community. That's what we're seeing at the moment, and that feeds into some of the content you put out as well, and the types of content you put out there. You've got to really add value and be less salesy. So if you have a brand, a product, a service where you can set up a Facebook group, or even get involved in a Facebook group, you can join groups as a company page, or even as a person, then please do that. If you want to get more out of Facebook, that's certainly the way to go. The other two things, just flipping back to this page here, again, talking about Facebook and Instagram starving reach, more so Facebook starving reach of organic posts. There's two other things you can do. First of all, you can make your content so much better than it currently is. And I'm not necessarily saying that your content is bad. It may not be. I've not looked at every person's content in the room, but make it better. Utilize different media. Don't just sell. We talk about the 80-20 rule. 20% of your stuff should be used for sales. 80% should be adding value. So have a think about how you can add value. And we will do a lunch and learn about the types of content that you can build and put together that adds value in the future. So keep an eye open for that. But creating better content is absolutely key. You may even want to move platforms. That's another thing you can look at. If Facebook and Instagram aren't working for you, potentially move platforms, especially if your target audience, let's say, is slightly younger. If they're between 20 and 30, then in my opinion, if you're B2C, TikTok would probably work better, but it relies on you being able to post out video content. If your audience is 30 to 45, you probably want to be operating more on Facebook and Instagram because that's where your target audience is more likely to be. So you need to think about where the target audience is as well, but you might want to shift your platform. Now, the third thing that I would say, and we're going to come on to this a little bit later on, is utilize ads. Now, Facebook are a money generating company. They rely on ad spend. So this is why they've started to starve reach over the years. You need to utilize ads. So have an ad budget for two things. Have an ad budget to generate leads in the way that you may well already do. That's if your audience is on Facebook, and have an ad budget to promote some of those posts to your existing audience, because that's the only way you're really going to get them out there. Because let's say you've got a page that's got 1,000 people liking it. I can guarantee you put a post out tomorrow and you'll probably have 10, 20 people see it. So you need to use a little snippets of budget, even if it's £5 here and there, to promote individual posts as well, to try and push them a little bit further. If it's a post that is generating real engagement. So that brings me on to another thing. If you, would you promote every post, or would you just promote select posts? I'd look at the posts that generally do quite well and try and promote those. So there are three things I would say would help you with regards to the lack of organic reach on Facebook at the moment. Just jumping back to this slide, users are looking to become more of a community at the moment, and there are other platforms that will potentially allow you to do that. So LinkedIn has its LinkedIn groups. Now, I'm not a massive fan of LinkedIn groups. I think they're underused, over-spammed, but it might be something that, if you are B2B, it might be something you want to get involved in. Again, the key thing here is not necessarily setting up a LinkedIn group or a Facebook group that's labeled with your company name. It's about adding value. You want to, for example, if you're a cleaning company, rather than having the name of the cleaning company as the company group, it might be something that's going to add value, add interest, might be cleaning hacks, something along those lines, something that people are actually going to be interested in, and they don't necessarily think they're then going to be sold to. So have a think about how you can involve people in a community as well. Twitter's got some cool kind of functionality as well. Twitter community. Twitter Spaces, a few different things that you might want to kind of look at there too. But when I was talking about, just jumping on the slide, I mentioned about creating better content. That's absolutely key across the board, really, whether it be email content, web content, social content. You need to be creating better content because the world of content is very saturated. There's so much of it out there. There's loads of webinars. We have to be better at what we're doing. So you need to think about how you can be better at what you're doing, whether that's changing the media that you're operating on, or just making better long or short form content. But one of the things we're seeing right now, and we mentioned this in a webinar we did in October when we were looking kind of forward in terms of the trends we'd expect to see, is you really should be trying to be more authentic and less filtered. Now, in the past, and we still see it a lot, we still do it, but I think there's a place for it. In the past on social media, you see a lot of these graphically designed posts or staged posts. Yeah, they're great. Don't get me wrong, they're absolutely great. But we are seeing from research, from the articles, the research we've done, the articles we've read, that people want to see more authentic content. They want to see more natural content. And that, feeds through to things like Instagram stories or Facebook stories, things that capture the moment there and then. So utilize them, but also feed that through to some of the posting that you do. And I think there's very much a fine line here. You don't want to be posting out stuff, you know, with you sat in your trackies looking, you know, a bit shoddy. It's not really going to sell the product, the brand, you know, you know, what you're trying to get across. But I think you can capture things within the moment as well, and be a bit free with that, and don't judge every picture by the way that you might look or the thing you might be doing. Try and be more authentic. I think that will certainly help you to create better content. Am I right, Bex?
Yeah, even you said about influencers becoming a bit less popular. That's kind of why, because people are moving away from, like, they're not that fussed anymore. It's not the case everywhere, but in a lot of places, it's people don't want to see fake advertising, and a lot of influencers give off that they come across as they're not very authentic. And so it's starting to move more towards you're going to have more influence if you're not an influencer, but if you're creating something or doing something that matches with what your identity is, rather than just taking on everything and advertising it. So there's definitely that, and the rise of Be Real and TikTok, which are more authentic social posts. It just goes to show the way that what consumers are going down. They're going down that path of preferring authenticity.
No, you're absolutely spot on. By the way, I'll say again, if anyone's got any questions, please put them into the webinar chat, and we'll try and answer those as we go on. Another thing we're seeing emerge quite rapidly is short form video. So a lot of people nowadays don't really have the attention span, or don't always have the attention span for long form video. I certainly don't. I don't know whether you guys in the room do, but short form video we've seen with YouTube is becoming far more popular. So how can you utilize that? TikTok has obviously almost started this trend, and we've seen TikTok and Instagram almost try to be one another over the last year or so. Instagram have tried to promote short form video, reels, to become more like TikTok. TikTok have started to introduce these kind of carousel images to become more like Instagram. We've seen a bit of a battle there, but what we have noticed is people are more interested in short form video. And off the back of this, we've seen YouTube Shorts, which are trying to compete with TikTok. TikTok isn't all about dancing, funny dancing, silly things. We've seen, I get loads of stuff come up on my feed that supposedly interests me, some don't. But I get, for example, loads of web-based stuff and marketing-based stuff come up on my TikTok. So it's not just about, and they get loads of engagement, by the way. It's not just about dancing. Now, what I would say is you need to, in some scenarios, think kind of more entertaining. You need to get something in there to kind of grab people's attention. The stuff that does better is more entertainment led, but it doesn't mean that you can't start to educate and become an expert in your field on TikTok, on Instagram, if you're using Reels, if you're using short form video there, or on YouTube Shorts. Again, that is becoming quite popular. It's like I said, their response to TikTok, as it were. So short form video is great nowadays. And also what you can do, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more towards the end, you can take what it is you're focusing on that month, whether it be a particular topic, and you can feed that down into multiple short videos. You can feed that down into different content in different areas, but utilize short form video because that is something people really, really are jumping on right now. May not be relevant to your brand, but see what you can bring in. Now, this is something I mentioned, and I'm quite passionate about this. This refers probably more so to LinkedIn. LinkedIn has, as a platform, massively improved over the years. I'm a big fan of it right now. What you see with LinkedIn is obviously two different types of profile. You see the person profile, so Dave Williams, Rebecca Frost, and you see the company profiles. The company pages are incredibly difficult to grow. They're not impossible. We grow company pages, but they are incredibly difficult to grow because people buy from people, and people engage more with people on LinkedIn than they do the actual pages. So a post that, and although I haven't tried this, it might be an interesting one to test. A post that you post out on your personal feed, I can pretty much guarantee will get far more engagement, far more reach than a post you post out on a company page. The other benefit with that is the fact that you're more likely to have more connections on a company page because a company page is more difficult to grow and connections are easier to come by. By the way, a really quick one kind of outside of this, in 2022, I don't remember how long ago it was, actually a few months ago, LinkedIn did introduce better analytics for individual posts on your personal posts, and you can get that on the LinkedIn app. So when you see the little bits of engagement showing up on a particular post, you can click it and see who's, not necessarily who's seen it, but how many people have seen it, what their demographic and interests are. It goes into a bit more detail, which is quite cool, but I'm stepping aside from that a little bit. Empowering teams to use social selling. As I said, this is more prevalent on LinkedIn. What is becoming more important now is almost that bridge between not just sales and marketing, but sales and marketing in particular, but the company as a whole and marketing. Now, you're going to, if you run a company that has separate HR and finance teams, you're going to find it quite difficult to bridge the gap between marketing and those individuals, those teams. But there's no reason why you can't have a company-wide incentive or company-wide buy-in to try and encourage people to share the content that you're pushing out on your LinkedIn company page. But the key thing here is empowering your sales team, people within a customer-facing environment, to almost have that bridge between their role and marketing, and empowering them to use social selling to generate more leads, generate more brand awareness. This is incredibly important because, as I said, people buy from people. And on LinkedIn, it is predominantly, certainly more than company pages, it's about the person. So you're going to have a team of people out there who are growing their own connections organically. They are engaging with people on a regular basis. If you empower them to educate their connections about your business, about your products, your service, through added value-added content, you're going to generate more leads, you're going to generate more brand awareness. Now, there is a massive con around this, and it's something we hear quite often. In fact, we've got a customer, they're not in the room, that are very anti this, and it's because this resides on the person as opposed to the company. So as soon as that person moves, their connections move because it's their LinkedIn account. You're relying on someone with a personal LinkedIn account to do this work. Now, that is a real challenge. In fact, we saw, again, a lady that's not in the room. We saw, I went a bit high pitched there, apologies. We saw a lady join a new company about 2 or 3 months ago, and she set up a totally new LinkedIn profile. For that very reason, the company didn't want her using her own LinkedIn profile. Her own LinkedIn profile was well connected in Northamptonshire. Her new one wasn't, because it was brand new. So I can see why they did it, because they wanted to almost pass it along to a new salesperson, sales and marketing person in the future. It's really not the right thing to do. You have to trust your employee base. So when Rebecca joined us back in June, we didn't ask you to set up a new LinkedIn profile, did we?
No. Okay,
we asked you to utilize the LinkedIn profile you've got. And when you move on, I'm not saying when, if, you might be here for life. If you move on in the future, you will take that with you. You'll take your personal brand with you, which is important for you. But we would have still benefited along the way. So you've almost got to trust that process. You've got to trust the fact that, yes, you know, you're going to take that with you, and that's okay. But actually, what you're doing along the way is you're promoting the brand, you're generating leads potentially, because whilst you're here, those leads, those contacts are going to come to us. Yeah. As opposed to another company in the future. Now, if you move on, they might go to the company in the future. And yes, you may develop relationships through your time at 146, move to another agency, and they could come to fruition then. But that's just the risk you take, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's better. It definitely works, and it's what LinkedIn want
people to do.
It's better to have a slice of something than nothing.
Yeah, and they really do. I mean, company pages are they're important, but even LinkedIn say they are a secondary backup to the personal profiles of what they want people to have their personal brands, and for selling from themselves and advertising from themselves the values of the company they work for, but they're not selling from the company page. The company page is there lower down the sales funnel for people to find out more about the company after they have spoken to, got to know the person behind the brand.
Yeah. Obviously there's risks involved around this. When utilizing a personal LinkedIn feed, personal LinkedIn profile, there are risks. And one of the key risks here is, what if they say something that they shouldn't really be saying? So everyone's got opinions. A lot of people hide behind social nowadays, some more than others. It can be quite dangerous. So if you're worried about that, put into place some social media guidelines. There's loads of templates online that you'll be able to utilize, and you can ask your employees to sign that before they start using it. Those guidelines can include tone of voice, the type of language they use, make sure they're not getting too personal, political, for example, whilst they're in that role. So you can put into place social media guidelines. There's not much you can do if people move on and then they obviously have nurtured a lead during that time and take them to the new place. Obviously, there's certain things you can put in contracts. I'm not a legal guy at all. I know there's certain things you can put in contracts in terms of kind of being able to or not being able to move clients over. But if they've nurtured a lead during that time, it's very difficult. You just have to trust the process. But like I said, it's better to have a slice of the pie than not a slice of the pie. And by empowering your teams to use social selling and by bridging that gap, you're going to get more from it than you won't get, if you know what I mean. So that's something I would really stress, more so in relation to LinkedIn at the moment. And again, it's so prevalent in 2023. So we're going to move on to Twitter. To blue tick or not to blue tick? That is the question. Right, this is an interesting one. So Elon Musk took over Twitter back in 2022, and there's been various changes we've seen along the route. Nothing major to functionality right now. So there's not a lot that we can say in terms of this is coming up, this is coming up. Now we don't do a lot of Twitter stuff. I will be brutally honest. We've moved away from it a little bit because Twitter, in my eyes, it requires a lot of time and a lot of effort. And the customers we've got at the moment, they don't particularly require, their target audience isn't necessarily on Twitter, and they don't require that level of service. Any Twitter accounts we have run in the past tend to be used for customer service needs more than anything. But the blue tick is an interesting one. We haven't trialed it. So for anyone that isn't aware, Elon Musk introduced the blue tick on Twitter. It was already there, but you had to get you had to be authorized to have it on there. You have to post loads of stuff through. We tried to do it for one of our brands, and we could never get it. It was a nightmare jumping through hurdles. Now you just pay for it. It's $8 a month, and you pay for it. What they generally say is if you pay $8 a month, you will get more exposure amongst your target audience. Your tweets will be seen more. You will become a bit more of an influencer. So if you operate on Twitter, if that is where your target audience resides, if you do quite well on Twitter, maybe try the blue tick. It's $8 a month. You'd probably spend more than that on social media ads. So if it amplifies your message a little bit more, I mean, marketing in general, I always say is test and measure. Test it for a month. If it amplifies it a little bit more, track the stats, then utilize it. Like if you generate one more lead off it a month, then that $8 a month is well worth it. But that's the only thing I've really got to say on Twitter, because like I said, if you haven't been on it recently, there is some functionality they've introduced, something around community, which is great, spaces, which was supposed to kind of hit back at Clubhouse, which has totally died a death. So there's some cool functionality you might want to look at. However, the only thing we're aware of at the moment is a blue tick. It's worth trying. I think we're going to try it, aren't we, Bex? Test and measure.
Yeah, possibly. It does give you access to a few extra things, extra features, and there's the possibility that it will grow. They're thinking of rolling it out to give you more if you have a blue tick, you'll have an advantage as a business over other businesses.
Yeah.
Even at the moment, you can undo tweets, you can do like you can add longer videos. Yeah, you can
also. Is that just with the blue tick?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
You can have like you see less ads. It's almost like reading through all the stuff with the blue tick is almost like they're making it, you know, you can customize the colors on your phone, on your Twitter app. So it's kind of like it's making this experience more interesting for a user. But at the moment, there's nothing there really to push you ahead of competition, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Apart from maybe some prioritized ranking. But have a look. If you look up blue tick, then the Twitter website has like everything on it, that what you would get and why and how much it costs. And then once you've got it, then you can try, you know, you can just pay monthly or you can pay for a whole year. And just see how it goes. If Twitter is something that you use a lot of, I imagine, well, most social platforms, when they bring out something new in the algorithm or they bring out a new feature, they will prioritize people who start using it. So if you don't use it, you might not see as much as, or might not get seen as much as you would if you were using the new feature.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. Talking about new features, obviously, we've just discussed Twitter really quickly, Bex, because I'm wary of time. LinkedIn had introduced a few cool features last year, hadn't they?
Yes, so they introduced things like stickers and like, so if you post from your phone, you've got a more user-friendly, like more like social experience of adding stickers, and they've taken away the finding people nearby, but given you a QR code. So meetings and networking, you can show your QR codes and stuff now, which you can also do over the internet, which is easier than if you're not actually in a room with people. And a few other bits, some more analytics and more guides, so that you can really make more out of your LinkedIn this year.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, all the platforms coming out with new stuff all the time, so it's worth keeping an eye on. Right, moving on to our next thing. So we do a lot of ad campaigns. One of the things we do probably more than, well, not more than any other, but certainly on a par, is social ad campaigns, Google ad campaigns. Ad campaigns are becoming increasingly difficult to generate, not increasingly difficult to generate conversions. That's a bad thing to say, because we generate conversions on every ad campaign we run, or most ad campaigns we run. But they are becoming more costly. They're becoming more difficult to generate a consistent level of results. So what I would say is start to think outside the box when you're planning any ad campaign, whether it be a Google ad campaign or a social ad campaign. Easier to do on social because you can be a bit more visual. I'll give you an example. So we do a lot of work with a home improvement company in North Hampshire, a big home improvement company. They've got a couple of different brands within it. We tested, and it's all test and measure, we tested some quite direct sales-based ads, and they worked, but they were generating leads probably 50, 60 quid per lead, which is a lot of money. Given the amount of money that their products are worth, probably less so, but we knew exactly the amount of money we needed to spend to generate a lead to actually make it profitable for them. That's important. So what we decided to do was we decided to think outside the box a little bit with one of their campaigns, and it really worked. So what we did was we set up a landing page. We tracked conversions for anyone that downloaded a brochure. So we went in really softly. We didn't say, buy this, buy this, buy this, make an inquiry, make an inquiry, make an inquiry. We said, just download a brochure. So you need to do. If you're interested, just download a brochure. Now, to the person, they've got to fill in their email address. To that person, they think, well, I'm just downloading a book. I'm interested in getting my windows done or getting my doors done or whatever that might be. I'm going to download a brochure. They get a lovely brochure with loads of stuff in. They get loads of information. And then what we were able to do was then feed that into a funnel. We had the sales team from this particular company, home improvement company. They would call them to check that they had got the brochure through. So it's a nice, softly kind of first intro. And in that first intro, just by saying, have you got the brochure through, they're giving the customer the opportunity to ask questions at that point, but they're not being salesy. We had an email marketing campaign that was slowly fed through, drip fed kind of through to them to try and encourage these guys to, well, first of all, have you got the brochure? Have you opened it? Here it is again. and then to feed through really valuable content, because these guys are likely to be renovating their house or part of their house. So here's other information that might be interesting to you. And at certain points in that process, why don't you get a quote? You've been on our email list, or you've asked for a brochure. Why don't you get a quote at some point? And it's really, really soft. So what I'm encouraging you guys to do is think outside the box when planning ad campaigns, because being quite direct nowadays isn't necessarily going to cut it. And yes, you might get sales, but you might generate far more sales if you set up an entire automated process. It can be totally automated, that adds value along a process. People, depending on the product and service, people aren't necessarily going to buy there and then. They might need a week, they might need a couple of days, they might need 3 months to
certainly for big purchases like home improvements. That's a
high value
game.
purchases, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to think about, okay, how long on average does it take for someone to buy my product? Let's say you're an accountant and you're going down this route. Well, I've got an accountant, and it might be different for me, but I probably wouldn't change my accountant just like that. It would take a lot of thinking for me to change my accountant. So for someone to kind of get into my head, there's going to be a kind of a long lead time. There's going to be a lot of value that needs to be added there. So don't necessarily think they're going to convert or buy straight away. And I think that's what a lot of people think with ad campaigns. We'll get a lead straight away. We'll get a lead straight away. Let's just sell, sell, sell. No, you need to nurture that lead. You don't want to necessarily go in selling straight away. You need to add value. Collect their data. We're going to go into first-party data shortly and why that's important. Collect their data, and you can remarket to them in other forms. You can drip feed them value over time and try and bring them in that way. So ad campaigns, not necessarily about sales, not necessarily about converting people into a customer there and then. Convert them into the next part of the journey and think about your customer journey. And that's really important and something a lot of people don't do. Another key thing, ad platforms are, as I said, getting more difficult to generate cost per conversions or conversion rates on, across certain campaigns. It's getting costlier. I follow a lot of what Neil Patel does. He's a UK-based marketer and big marketing influencer. And he was saying at the start of the month that marketing in general for any company is going to be more difficult than ever in 2023 than any previous year. And it's because obviously we are, are we in a recession? I don't know. I don't follow the news enough. I just crack on with things, but people are struggling, cost of living is going up, people are less likely to purchase certain kind of high value items or items they don't necessarily need. Not always the case, but that's what you'll generally see over the course of 2023. It's going to be more difficult to onboard customers, which means cost per clicks are going to go up. The amount of customers they're engaging are going to go down. The conversion rates are going to go down. The cost per conversion rate is going to go up. It's generally going to be more challenging. So what I encourage you guys to do is test out different ad platforms. Have a think about your audience. You might have been almost stuck in a rut on Google ads or stuck in a rut on Facebook ads. You think, oh yeah, we've got to be advertising there. This is what's worked for us before. It doesn't necessarily mean it will work as effectively now. Test other ad platforms. We've started doing a lot of ad campaigns on TikTok and on Snapchat. Now their audience, this client in particular, it was actually a brand awareness client for a college, and their audience dictated that we should be looking at TikTok and Snapchat. But we saw cost per clicks. We didn't track conversions. It's not something they wanted to do. I would always encourage that, but this was very much a brand awareness thing. And we saw cost per clicks decrease by 10, 20p across campaigns on TikTok and Snapchat. So if you've got an audience that's potentially on Snapchat and TikTok, then utilize it. Snapchat is very much for the younger generation. TikTok, you might think that it's for a younger generation. I think I read some stats. Bex, this was on your blog, I think about 25%, don't quote me on this, 25% of 13 to 18-year-olds use TikTok. Between 20 and 30, it's about 23%. Between 30 and 40, it's about 20%. And above that, it's the rest. Am I right? Ish?
Ish.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what we're seeing there is, yes, the younger audiences use TikTok more than anyone. However, it is a bit more spread than you think. I use TikTok. I have a love-hate relationship with it, because I use it for work to research things, and then 2 hours later I realize I'm still on it. But you will find that there's an older audience on there as well. So if you have an audience between the age of 20 and 40, approximately 50% of the TikTok platform is between that age. So potentially utilize it, and that's where you can feed in short form video and create ads that are a little bit more engaging and get across that whole kind of authentic, filters down kind of feel. So you can integrate a lot of what we talked about today through the likes of TikTok. Just worth noting.
If like you're a B2B and you haven't looked at LinkedIn adverts, try LinkedIn adverts. You know,
Yeah.
if you haven't tried that, have a go.
We got
having different platforms, trying what's out there, realizing that there is like 3-4 main platforms, but that's not the only platforms. There's loads of other places you can go to use.
B2B is LinkedIn's great for B2B, obviously. Don't be scared of their platform. It's actually quite easy to use. And we generate, I don't know the exact stat, but I'd probably estimate about 75–80% of people who join Lunch and Learn, we generate them through LinkedIn ads. And we're going with, again, coming back to what I mentioned earlier, we're not selling to you guys. We're not here to sell in the slightest. We're here to add value. And this is the way we do it. And if at some point in the future, you guys decide, I want to work with those guys, then brilliant. But we're not going to force you to. We're not going to do a hard sell. We're going to add value by kind of giving back. So there's a way that you might be able to do that for your companies. Through webinars, maybe. Well, I'm going to jump on because I'm wary of time. Prioritise first-party data hyper-personalized campaigns. Now, there is a massive thing about third-party data at the moment. There has been really ever since iOS. Well, there was on other browsers actually a number of years ago, but iOS 14.5 impacted third-party data. Google Chrome are getting rid of third-party data this year, I believe. So first-party
should be
data,
early 2024.
Oh, is it? I thought it was this year.
No, it's this year is their last like phasing out of it. It's probably not going to go because they've put it back a couple of times. Okay. But this is the year to prepare for not having it in 2024. Okay,
cool. So just to explain in brief for those that aren't aware, third-party data is data that's collected that it's totally not, well, reasonably anonymous data that's collected through third-party providers. Let's say Facebook, Google, whoever that might be. That is what they're getting rid of, and you pretty much won't be able to use that unless you opt in. So, for example, iOS 14 allows people to opt in for people to be tracked. I would encourage you to do it because you get better ads, more personalized ads on your platforms. I've opted in, but I think there's only about, I read an article saying only 10% of worldwide people have opted in, and I read another one saying it had upped to 25% because a lot of social platforms have tried to get their message across. It's really good to opt in. Anyway, so that's third-party data. First-party data is data that you can get through maybe web tracking tools, through forms, form submissions, email signups, any data collected through things like surveys or giveaways or something like that. So that's first-party data. Can't confuse between first-party and third-party. First-party data, and that is the creme de la creme of data because it's your data. You can utilize that across various ad platforms. So, for example, on Google, you can update certain phone numbers or email address and try and assign it to users navigating their way around the internet and target them specifically with hyper-personalized campaigns. It doesn't just have to be on that. You can also hyper-personalize things like email campaigns. So I'm an Aston Villa fan for my sins, and I was scrolling Twitter yesterday, I think, actually. So I thought I'd integrate this into Lunch and Learn. And very popular footballer of old, Ian Taylor, tweeted, I think it was Ian Taylor, tweeted about the fact that he'd had a very personalised, hyper-personalised email from Aston Villa. Now, times of old, and we probably all do the same, Aston Villa would have probably sent out an email encouraging people to buy their discounted Villa shirts with just the same email, a Villa shirt. Oh, we've got a sale on, blah, blah, blah. We probably do the same. We probably send out one email to everyone we've got on our database. Now, the problem with that is it's not personalized. We might say, hi, Dave, at the top. It's personalized to a point. It's not hyper personalized. What Ian Taylor had was a picture of this shirt with his name on the back that came through. So it was hyper personalized. Now, hyper personalized has many different definitions and can apply to very different things. It can apply to you pushing out a specific message via an ad platform to a very specific person, someone that you've got hold first party data on. However, it can also apply to how you get your message across in emails and hyper personalizing things like that. I think I've got in the background. Right, there we go. Can you see that, Bex?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so this is dog food. So this is for my dog Monty. He's not with me this week, but my dog Monty, you can see here his name on there. That's an example of some kind of personalization. I wouldn't necessarily say it's hyper personalized, but it's an example of some kind of personalization. What they've done is they've tried to feed that experience, that really personal experience, throughout their marketing, right down to the dog food. So I get boxes, I get little letters in there saying, "Hi, Monty, here's your dog food." So think about how you can personalize everything you do. Think about how you can collect first-party data. Are you doing it enough? And think about how you can potentially automate email campaigns or automate your marketing in general, because it will certainly save you time as well. It'll make you more specific. It will generate, it's better to have, well, actually, there's an argument about this. It's better to have more specific data and market to more specific data than broader data. The argument here is ad campaigns. For example, we have seen with ad campaigns proving more difficult to generate conversions and clicks, we've actually seen broadening up an ad campaign works a lot better, and we're getting far more conversion through a really broad ad campaign with just by personalizing and narrowing down on the message than we are with a narrow ad campaign. So actually, there's kind of two arguments to this, but it depends on the specifics. Personalizing an email and automating things like email campaigns, hyper personalizing any campaign using first-party data is something you really need to be hot on in 2023 and beyond. It should have been something we were hot on last year. Yes. So moving on. Kind of ranted a bit on that one. Utilize AI for web content. This is our penultimate slide, so we're running on time at the moment. Utilize AI for web content. Now, I've put this on here almost as a statement to say you should utilize AI for web content. I'm actually not saying that. I'm going to debate it almost openly with Bex here, because I think we're all on the same kind of line, aren't we? Yeah. But I think you've probably got an argument that goes beyond mine as well that is worth considering. So my argument is, you've seen Chat GPT, which is an automation platform that's currently in testing. And I've seen people try to utilize it for SEO purposes, so content creation. And the benefits of anything automated is you save time. That's essentially what it is. And potentially money. You save time and money. The problem is any kind of automation when it comes to SEO, especially in content generation, Google is going to hate. And they've already responded to this and said, you need to be writing your content for humans in human format. It needs to be humanized. It needs to be easy to understand. And I know some of the content that I've only investigated to a point, ChatGPT. Bex, you've got other platforms I'm going to ask you to talk about in a second. But certainly ChatGPT, and in my opinion, automated platforms generally, be really careful of them. It will save you time, it will save you money, but it might not do anything for you. In fact, it might have a negative effect on SEO. So please bear that in mind. But there are other platforms, Rebecca.
Yeah, so Google have released an update that's basically calling on people to spend more time creating stuff for humans by humans, because people are using AI not very well, basically, and it's obvious. So if you're going to use AI, and Google aren't against people using it, they just think that you should put a human element in there as well. So never just have a blog writing tool do the whole blog and then just stick it up on the website, which is what a lot of people are doing. Because if you're not checking it and reading it as an actual human, Google's going to crawl it one day and go, bah, this was written by a robot. It's rubbish. Because they do make mistakes. They're not perfect. And also things like ChatGPT isn't a blog writing tool. At the moment, it's in testing phase, which is why they've kind of released it for everyone to have a go. But it's not the end product, and it's not for writing blogs. So there are blog writing AI tools, like there's one called Jasper, which is really good. And I know friends and connections who use it. They all use it with a pinch of salt. But I've read some of the work that they've done, and it's pretty good. It does look, sounds like a human's written it. But then there are other things. So you can use AI to come up with topics for you. You can use them for making sure you keep on brand. So if you are looking into it and you want to save some time and money, just make sure you go for the right tool and practice and get other people to read it and see what it's like before you just throw it out there, because it's like everything that will save you time and money. You do have to set it up properly first, and if you just rush in, it won't always give you the best results. But if you look at it like any new project, get to know it, understand how it works, make sure you've got the right tools, then it should work for you fine. I would probably avoid anything that says they can write you blogs for free, but you could always give it a go as a test and see. But ChatGPT, if you want to see something interesting, if you go to see them, their one before ChatGPT was, I think it was called like Instruction GPT. And the difference between what Instruction GPT says and what ChatGPT says, it is so much more like you're talking to a human with chat instead of instructions. And that's a really interesting way to see how they've evolved the AI, and then go and use a tool like Jasper and see what that does for you. And it's pretty interesting.
Thank you, Bex. I think the kind of takeaway there is we're very traditional in the way of SEO, traditionally in the way of pre-AI. So that's not really traditional, it's current as well. We will look into it, but just be really careful. There are things it might be able to do to make your life easier, but be careful if you're getting it to right content, make sure it's checked, make sure it's tweaked.
Yeah.
Moving on to the final topic, because we've got about 2 minutes left and we should be able to gloss through this one pretty quickly. Begin producing content in more than one format. I think this is absolutely crucial nowadays. This comes back to me talking about things like short form video. Users absorb content in different ways, and you can't necessarily guarantee that one user within your target audience will absorb content the same way as another user. So start to think outside the box when it comes to producing content in multiple formats. That might be short form video, that might be imagery, that might be infographics, blogs, podcasts. One of the things, I'll explain our strategy in brief. So all of our marketing this year is around Lunch and Learn. So our task is to bring our target audience, which is marketeers, directors of businesses, into a webinar every single month. We don't sell to you. Obviously, if you want to work with us, it's great. We're lovely people, I hope. We sort of know what we're talking about. But that's our aim. And everything, so we create a heck of a lot of content that you've heard over this hour. We can feed that down into blogs, videos, social content, podcasts. If we want to do podcasts, that might be on the radar at some point, but not yet. We can feed all of that information down to other formats. And that's what we're going to start to do. So as of February, you'll start to see a lot of this content kind of feed out to prompt you guys and further educate you guys and further add value on a topic you're clearly interested in. Try and do the same thing. If you have a particular interest that you want to share that month, or a particular offer or promotion, utilize that as the bedrock of everything you do that month and feed everything off it. Produce content in more than one format and utilize all your different platforms. Okay, I'm going to leave that there because we've literally hit 1 o'clock. I'm really thankful to everyone who's attended today.